Packers fans rejoice. It turns out the Green Bay Packers are pretty serious after another Week 2 smackdown. That's how the week got started. Welcome into Game Day Recap. Week 2 of the NFL, certainly bringing the heat when it comes to some of those Sunday scores, so I'll point them out to you. We went from the Dolphins nearly being held scoreless in Week 1, and then they turn around and almost beat the Patriots. We're going to break that one down for you as well. Aaron Rodgers, Week 2 performance not as strong as Week 1. We'll break down that one, what went wrong, what went right in that matchup. The Eagles, the Chiefs, we had a Super Bowl rematch there. There's a lot to get to. I'm Haley Sutton. Let me introduce you to our crew while we're at it. I heard on social media a little birdie didn't know who Damien Harris was, so let me introduce you to our two-time national champion, our 3-time SEC champion, and of course, the Alabama alumni NFL running back Damien Harris joining us fresh off of his second baby. Damien, welcome.
Thank you.
Claps are in order. We've also got Rand Carthon joining us, our steady ship, our steady voice we learned from a week ago. And Pete, you need no introduction. How do we feel about the Dolphins?
They're bad. The coach is in trouble because they play the Bills on Thursday.
Tough. We're going to get into all of that. But, of course, I want to start the conversation with the Super Bowl rematch that we just watched unfold. Guys, the Eagles getting it done. They are now 2-0. Patrick Mahomes, meanwhile, now 0-2 for the first time since he was in college. We'll get into all of that. But, Pete, initial reactions, is the dynasty dead in Kansas City?
No, way too early for that. But they have problems. And we talked about it all day today. They don't have any weapons. He's doing it by himself. And the one weapon that he does have, and Travis Kelce drops the ball in the end zone that should have been a touchdown, and the complexion of that game changes. They take the lead. So are they done? Absolutely not. Are they as dominant as they've been in the past? No chance.
And I think that, echoing off of everything that you just said from the offensive perspective, when you look at the defense, Spags still has the Kansas City Chiefs in a good position defensively. They didn't let the Philadelphia Eagles just throw the ball all over the field. They didn't let Saquon run the ball all over the field. I know he had close to 100 yards, but they were stiff. They were firm. They had good blitz packages. They had good coverage patterns. A.J. Brown, quiet day. Devontae Smith, semi-quiet day. So, again, Pat needs some help on offense. Defensively, they're fine, and I think that's why the dynasty is still alive in some regards.
Yeah, you were really impressed with Patrick Mahomes. Rand, what stood out to you in this one when it comes to the Chiefs and the rest of the season, especially when you look at this schedule coming up here? How are you feeling? Give me a vibe check.
Well, I mean, I agree with what everyone has said already. It's too early. They are still the Chiefs. This is still Patrick Mahomes. And him not having weapons today, he still made plays when he had to. But I want to ask the room this question.
Okay.
All right, if I told you that Philly was held to 217 yards, Jalen Hurts had 101 yards passing, no touchdowns, would you have said they had won that game?
Absolutely not, especially not if they're playing the Chiefs.
And so, but that to me, that was how Philly has a dirty win today. It was a dirty work win. I thought both teams struggled on third down. Kansas City was 4 of 12. Philly was 5 of 14. But to me, the biggest difference in this game was red zone efficiency. Philly was 2 of 2, and KC was 1 of 2, and the one miss that they had was the interception to Andrew Makuba, which led to points for Philly. So it's still too early from the Kansas City side, but because this is still a good championship Philly team that they played against. But when they get their weapons back and they get everyone healthy, they're going to be a problem late in the season.
And that's it, by the way. I thought they'd be an explosive offense this year when you have Hollywood Brown, you have Xavier Worthy, and Rashee Rice. Now, Rice gets the suspension, changes that quickly. You knew he'd get some suspension, but you didn't know how long. And then Worthy goes out in week 1. Now they don't stretch the field. Now Thornton had the big play down the field, but they do not stretch the field. And when everybody plays in a phone booth, it's easy to defend them.
And to go off of both of your points, and yours especially when you talk about the red zone and why Philly had success, it's because they run the football and they use Saquon once they get inside the 20. Obviously, we know they use Jalen Hurts once they get inside the 5, once they get inside the 2. But one thing for Kansas City, especially with the lack of explosive playmakers in the pass game, you have got to find a way to get the run game going. And I know that hasn't been a point of emphasis for Kansas City in the past because you've had Patrick Mahomes, you had Travis Kelce. For a while, you had Tyreek Hill, so you never really had to worry about the run game. But now when you're depleted of your pass catchers and your explosive playmakers, well, then what do you turn to? And it really looks like Patrick Mahomes is the most effective runner when he's scrambling really for his life.
Can I just give some love to my running back?
The running backs.
Come on
I was
now.
going to say,
Come on
now
now.
let's bring a running back onto the set to talk running backs.
He's a running back hater. We'll pray for you.
Draft them, run them into the ground, and then draft another one.
That's always your method.
It's going to be a long year with Pete. It's going to be a long year with Pete.
All right, so still some questions there when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. We will push ahead, though, that schedule we showed it. Giants, Ravens, Jags, Lions, their next 4. I want to talk about the Colts, guys. Say it with me. Daniel Jones is 2-0 as a starter in Indianapolis. And I can't remember which one of you it was, but one of us when we in the pregame show was like, are the Colts good? Are they
That was
bad?
me. That was me. Because now, for me, I grew up a Colts fan. Being from Kentucky, I love Peyton Manning. I love Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harris Sr. I loved all those guys, right? Get them mixed up. But now to see Daniel Jones start 2-0 with Indianapolis, I mean, especially with all the criticism at the quarterback position with Anthony Richardson, and now a guy who seemed like he was on the last leg of his career, still early, still young, showing some life in Indianapolis and getting things done. It's a good thing to see.
I mean, he's played 2 great games in a row. Think about that. If you would have said Daniel Jones played 2 great games in a row and they were 2-0 before the season, you would have said, what? He was in a quarterback competition with Anthony Richardson. How could that possibly be? They have a lot of weapons. Their offensive line is good. You know, they had change on that offensive line, and both those guys that have changed in there, Bortolini the center and Conclave's the right guard, they've been really good so far for them. If you can run the ball, they did with Jonathan Taylor, and you have a quarterback. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. They had some problems running him too much, but the bottom line is if you could run it, have a good offensive line, and have some weapons, all Daniel Jones has to do is manage the game, and he's doing more than that right now.
Brand, let me ask you this just real quick, because when we're talking about Daniel Jones, we're talking about where he has this Colts team. To your point, a team that had no expectations to start the year. The last time the Colts were 2-0 was 2009. They went to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm picking? You're picking up what I'm putting down here. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because it's week 2. Is there some hope maybe for the fan base that this team could do the same? You're looking at me crazy, but I have to ask the question to our GM on set.
Listen, I'll say this. It's enough for them to be encouraged about, but it's way too early.
Okay.
Way too early.
We're
not going to put Daniel Jones in the same vein as Peyton Manning. We're not going to do that. Not going. And you said it was too much. In the words of Luther Vandross, it's never too much.
Never too much.
It's never too much. It's never too much. Today, Jonathan Taylor accounted for 215 total yards, 165 on the ground, 50 receiving, and this is their recipe for winning. This is how you're going to have to win because the makeup of this team as a whole, Daniel Jones does not have to win the game for you. He just has to play good, sound, efficient, and that's what he was today. 23 of 34, 316 yards, had a touchdown in the air, had another touchdown on the ground, and the most important stat of the day, no turnovers. And that's how you're going to have to play in this division particularly and to be able to make the playoffs in the AFC.
Well, that's compare him to 2009 when he was a bandwagon front-runner jumping fan back then. Come on, you can't do that to Daniel Jones.
We did talk, though, as we were prepping for this one. It wasn't all good for Shane Steichen, particularly on that final drive. It got a little wonky there when they were okay with going for the 60-yarder here. But, Pete, you took issue even before they attempted that 60-yard. So walk us through just the play calling there by the Colts at the end, why you were so frustrated, I guess.
Okay, you get the 1st and 10 at the 43, and you have all 3 of your timeouts. You run it with Taylor. Okay, I'm okay with that. You run it on 2nd down? And then you come back and you run it on 3rd down? So what you're essentially saying is I'm okay with a 58 to 60-yard field goal. Well, you can't play that way. They got away with it because there was a penalty on the kick that he missed from what, 60? And so you have to play it. You're going to go get it down to where it's a 50-yard field goal and in. It can't be a 60-yard field goal. I know these kickers are amazing, and I love the fact they all have big legs.
You already cut one in week 1.
Well, and if we find another one, we'll cut him too. But the bottom line is you can't play it for a 60-yard field goal. If you do that consistently, you're going to have a problem. By the way, you had a couple other instances where you had some mistakes in that game, and we'll get to them later, but at the end of the game, they got away with it.
And I do want to say something. They did get away with it, and I'm surprised that they did because the lack of awareness in an end-of-game situation from a Sean Payton coach team to have a penalty for attacking the snapper on a field goal. Like that's something you learn or you go over the first day of training camp. And when you talk about those end-of-game situations, you practice them all the time, and they rarely come up. But when they do come up, it can cost you just like it cost the Denver Broncos today.
I'll say this, and that was a great point, because not only was it a penalty, it was a 15-yard.
It wasn't 5,
it wasn't 5. That was a big difference. But to your point you made, Pete, and these kickers, big legs, big leg kickers that we probably have never seen before in our game. I do think there's a zone where we're starting to settle for too many 60-yard field goals instead of continuing to play situational football in the game situations and just chipping away at the yards, like you said.
It's not a luxury anymore to have that kind of kick.
Correct. And so now you're seeing too many situations where, like Pete said in the Indy game, in a normal situation, you're not going to run, and then kick a 60-yard field goal. You're going to get as many yards as possible, maybe center the ball, get the ball to the spot where the kicker likes it. But let's just see how this goes for the rest of the year. It's cool and it's great and it's fun for us to talk about and watch, but I think we are in an area where we're probably trying to settle for too many of these 60-plus.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it's because teams are more willing to go into overtime? Because that's usually when we see it, at the end of a game, more so than end of half. Because I feel like when I watch teams in end of half situations, they're more aggressive because they want to get that the last possession of the first half, second half swing. But when it comes to the end of the game, it's just like, okay, listen, we're going to kick a 65-yarder. If we miss, the worst thing that happens is we're going to go into overtime. I don't know that mentality because I'm trying to win in regulation. I'm not trying to take it to extra time, extra plays, extra anything. I'm trying to win in regulation.
Hey, you're coming from the Herm Edwards school. You play to win the game. But I think that luxury comes because you have these kickers with the big legs now. And so instead of putting your team in a situation where you can lose the ball, you just settle for the 60-yard field goal.
But here's the other thing: is Steichen got away with it. If he doesn't get away with it, you can imagine what the week's going to be like, and tonight would have been like for him. They would have questioned him every bit of the way. So he gets away with it. I still question him because I think in the end you have to do it the right way, and he didn't do it the right way.
We did this last week when it came to Cam Ward. I asked you guys to give me a vibe check when it comes to the Broncos defense, or just the Broncos in general after this one. Are we giving a thumbs up, thumbs down, midway through? How are we feeling?
Today?
After today, how we feel?
So far this season,
I'd
say like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going.
I would say
this is our move right here.
Well, I would say midway, but I would lean a tick towards thumbs down.
Correct.
And the only reason there's a lot of reasons you can say, but my main point is going to be the injury to Pat Surtain. And listen, I know we talked about this. He probably went in the locker room. He probably got a nice little injection of something that made him feel good for the time being. But again, that'll be something to monitor this week, weeks moving forward.
Also, the front seven's supposed to be good, and they got pushed around today. They just dominated. And I mean, when you get pushed around the way they got pushed around, that's a red flag.
All right, so some questions about that dominant Broncos defense that we talked all preseason about. We also have some questions really for both of these teams. Panthers, Cardinals, what the heck did we watch? I mean, we all sat up there and it felt, I don't want to put this out there, but it felt like the officiating crew wanted the Panthers to win that game. There were flags left and right ran. Ultimately, though, who do you give more credit to? The Cardinals for finishing it out, or the Panthers for blowing it there at the end?
I'm going to straddle the fence here. I'll be a self-admitted. I'm a straddle the fence here. But here's why. For the Cardinals to take the next step, especially in the NFC West, you have to learn how to win these games and close out these games. And whether they had help or not, I don't know if I'm eligible to get fined for saying and questioning officiating.
Not anymore.
But I'm still not going to do it. But they found a way to finish the game, and they did. But the reason why I said straddle the fence is because Carolina didn't go down without a fight. And Bryce Young had them in the game to win it late. They recovered an onside kick. I mean, what was the percentage? It's a single-digit chance.
I think it's the first one all year.
And it's a single-digit chance that you're going to recover the onside kick, and they were able to. And so he had them in the game, especially at a point where it looked like the game was going to be out of reach, and they fought to go to get back into the game. So to me, this is a situation, a great opportunity for this young Carolina team to learn from, especially playing that type of game on the road.
Well, you know what? They gave out a little tiny trophy for the winner of the Tiny Bowl. I mean, I'm tiny, so I can make that joke. I can make that joke. Kyler Murray went to the stage and he got a little tiny trophy for the winner of the Tiny Bowl. I mean, look.
And Pete gave it to him.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're the first recipient,
Pete. To give it to him, too, by the way.
Stop it.
Look, the Cardinals have to learn how to close out games because they dominated that game. And at the end, they were in the game. Remember a week ago at New Orleans, they dominated the Saints and found the Saints throwing shots into the end zone with a chance to win that game. 2-0, though. The Cardinals are 2-0. Think about that.
First time since 2021.
And that's an amazing stat right there in itself, but they got to be a better football team within that division moving forward.
I've got to say, I'm more impressed with the Carolina Panthers because you talked about them not giving up, right? How easy would it be for Bryce Young to quit?
Yeah,
How easy would it be for him to just throw in the towel and talk about he's been benched, he's been drafted to one of the worst organizations in the NFL, he hasn't got a fair share of the meal, and he just keeps going out there and he just keeps playing. They talk about he's the same size as Pete Prisco. He can't see over anybody, can't throw over anybody. They talk about all these things. Well, where's the Bryce magic that we saw at Alabama? Well, granted, we're not seeing it right now, but again, he doesn't quit. He shows up for his team time and time again. And then when you look at a young receiver like Tet, hopefully they can keep that duo together, because just like you said, Pete, this is an opportunity that they can learn from and grow from as we move forward.
I'm trying to figure out if someone's agreeing with you or not on that
I'm
take.
going to say that
my wife's telling me she likes my
real
takes.
quick, because for a game and a half he was awful, because he was bad against Jacksonville and he was bad in the first half. It got loose, it got out of control. The Cardinals kind of backed off and he put up some big numbers, but he did fight. You're right about that.
All right, we're gonna figure out who's trying to get a hold of you. We're gonna
You're
take
in
a quick
trouble
break.
over there.
Well,
Someone's in trouble.
My son must be crying. I need to call him in the break and tell
We
him to
gotta
quiet
get a
down.
break here on Game Day Recap. But when we come back, all this talk about kickers being the hero, my kicker, the best of the best. Brandon Aubrey surviving the Giants. We're gonna talk about it after the break.